morning, everybody. We are back. It has been a minute since I've done a live conversation. I guess I'm allowed to take a break, and Ryan has been to Windsor and back, and all parts in between
Right. Yes.
since we. It's been a while. Like I haven't done a live conversation in over a week, which is like.
Yes.
But yeah, I haven't done a live conversation a week, but we are back, and yeah, the morning vibe is back. We were supposed to. I already went through it. A few Mondays ago? Last Monday we did a replay. The Friday we were on. The Monday before that, well, whatever. It's just been doing. It just been doing. But we are back.
Yes.
Second half of the year has started. Everybody. Don't know who I am. I'm Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the home of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles and a solution for someone's problem. Ryan Knight, it has been forever since we've seen you on this screen.
I'm feeling it, but I'm glad to be back to enjoy.
Ryan's a little tired. He's been getting some vacation time. What's been going on?
Hey, and for those that may have forgotten who I am, my name is Ryan Knight, one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. We are a 5-year-old, going on 6-year-old organization supporting entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage, really to figure out what stage the business is in and then help them create a strategy to grow their companies exponentially. Also an entrepreneur myself. I run a company called Detailing Nights. So we provide mobile waterless car cleaning. So going to your house, your office, cleaning your car on the spot without using water, and our plant-based eco-friendly cleaning supplies. So again, glad to be back. I can't believe that Via Rail wouldn't allow us live stream for that past Friday when we couldn't come out. I was like,
no, it was a
we're
Monday.
Gonna be on the train for 4+ hours.
It was a Monday. Was it the Monday?
Yeah,
I
thought it was June 30th.
No.
Oh yeah, the Monday before on the way in. Yeah.
On the way in. And you know what? And I was disappointed, but I do understand, because look, if they had everyone on that car live streaming, the bandwidth would get maxed out easily.
Well, that's a phone call to Bell, Rogers, Shaw. Get them
there you go.
Their stuff.
Exactly.
Comfortably. But I know, bandwidth would get eaten up.
Okay, so for a few things before we get started, some housekeeping rules. Please like the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button.
Please.
And also, please like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook and LinkedIn, and also whatever platforms Ryan is on. Please share the information out, big. Also, we're also going to encourage Wayne Harris to do this. Please join the Morning Vibe Discord group. Please email me at drvibe@thedrvibeshow.com, which leads into another thing coming up on this Monday's show. She's going to be back. Dr. Tachi. We're talking about media, tech, and pop culture. And really interesting, if anyone's been following the world of social media, the new Threads app that's been launched by Instagram.
Right. Twitter is not happy about that.
Yes, and Twitter is suing Instagram on it. But, so we won't get into a deep dive of that, but Dr. Tachi will be talking about that. Also, her Indie Soup network that's launching. But I think the only thing I'll say short form in regards to the Threads app, another app, my gosh.
But this one's getting some traction. I think I heard like tens of millions of people have shifted.
30 million was in the first 10 hours.
People are starting to get tired of Twitter.
Yeah, I agree that, but again, it's just another app. Like it's just unless you have a social media content creator, it's a lot. My thought process, and I'll leave all the expertise to Dr. Tachi, is that go where your audience is.
Okay, right. Did you hear that? I think Black Twitter, they were forming another app.
They have an app called The Spill. It's called Spill.
Right. Yeah. So, like you said, another app, but it seems Twitter's slowly disbanding. But then you wonder, okay, who is going to be left on Twitter? Like, who are the people that are the diehards? Is that an environment that will reboot Twitter and rebound from the kind of dip that they're taking? Elon might be thinking he's a person that I don't discount quickly. So
No, I don't.
He's taking it over, and there's some sort of plan for it, but we'll see how it kind of shakes out.
Well, we'll ask Wayne about this because he has a long history in cybersecurity and things like that. We'll get him up in a moment, but a few other things too coming up tomorrow night. I don't have the lower third set up, but tomorrow night, State of Things with Aisha, Jill, and Lala.
Nice.
Family that they took last weekend off too. Next tomorrow night, if you want to find out, get a lens of what's going on in America, if you have any lens of what's been going on in the last 2 weeks, affirmative action struck down in schools. Also, right there, I'm feeling there's going to be a 2-hour conversation tomorrow night on State of Things with Isha, Jill, and Lala. So that's why you need to subscribe to the Dr. Vibe. That's going to be, there's so many different things. Like we have our own Discord channel. The comments and content has been going crazy.
Well, I'm curious if they're going to talk about the Supreme Court blocking Biden trying to alleviate
the student loans. Yes.
Wow.
So just those two conversation topics there could be 2 hours. And of course, a lot of people have a lot of interesting things to say about Clarence Thomas, who, interestingly enough, who's so conservative now. Do you realize that at one time Clarence Thomas was married to a black woman?
I did not know that. Okay.
And when he was going to university, he had a Malcolm X poster in his room.
Okay. Wasn't he like a strong advocate before he kind of got onto the
Supreme Court? Actually to get into his law school, affirmative action benefited him getting into his law school.
Wow. And so what, he voted against it?
Of course.
Struck it down? Man,
oh yeah, he was the lead justice. He was the lead justice saying no. Hey, and thanks to everyone who's jumped in. We've been gone for a little bit, but you've come back, so we appreciate you. Before we get anything else going, get the comments. People saying good morning. Christopher Lawrence is here. Yes. Greetings and salutations, Vibe and Night. Yeah, we missed you in Windsor. All right, and we didn't. We have to
missed a lot of people in Windsor.
We don't want to go about that. Okay, well, do you want to go there now?
Hey, I'll say real quick. I saw a lot of pictures of people jumping up and down at Collision as if it was Carabana, and Collision wasn't putting $100 million into the Black community. So priorities. I'll leave it at that, unless there are specific follow-up questions.
Okay, let's go. Fitness IQ Cam, morning, folks. Fitness IQ Cam, the video you sent me, I think, same issue. I was actually on her show last Saturday, so I'm still waiting for that. Yes, Christopher Lawrence says more to come. Fitness IQ Cam. Apparently, if you get threads and you want to delete it, you have to delete your IG too. That is true.
What?
So if
that's like something totally connected.
Yes. So if you delete threads on your platform, you also delete IG. Very smart move. Very smart move by Instagram.
That's so strange, but then so it's a integrated new.
Oh feature. Yeah, well it's Meta. So Meta's smart. They're just gonna. And
that's like if you delete WhatsApp, you lose Facebook. Like doesn't. Why would they do that?
Okay, Fitness IQ Cam. What's in the red cup? Carbonated water and a little bit of grapefruit juice. Low-cal grapefruit juice, by the way. Speaking of Dr. Tachi, she says, good morning. She hosts the livest program about media, tech, and pop culture, Wednesdays, 5 p.m. on Instagram, and then various platforms, 6 p.m. on Wednesday Eastern time. Also, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch. She had 2 really great guests on last Wednesday. A lady who's really great with fashion, and also a gentleman who does who really big proponent of social media and real estate. And we have enough about real estate on this platform. Trevor Dunlop says, good morning, Dr. Vibe. Good morning. Dr. Tachi about Clarence Thomas, he doesn't care since he already got his he already has his hashtag forget Uncle Tom about Clarence Thomas. And then Christopher says the event was sold out. Yeah, it's interesting. The event was sold out with a conference that Brian's team organized, but a lot of people who said they were going to go never showed up.
Exactly, and that's where it gets difficult because you're dealing with managing expectations, because you have to pay for food and accommodations for some people.
Yeah,
so when they tell you that they're going to be there and they don't show up, that's why it's difficult. And maybe next time we have to charge, because when we have these free events, people tend to register and then decide not to show up when things.
Okay, let's just take another quick. But we're gonna just get a little bit more into this before we bring Wayne out. So Fitnance IQ Cam says, "Woo, Ryan, talk to things." Ray McMillan, good morning, Ray. Good morning. I had a great catch-up conversation with him yesterday. Fiona Gobin says, "Good morning." Okay, Ryan, we're gonna talk about this now because I told a number of people I was attending this conference, and you know what the common answer I got back or response? I didn't know about it. If I did, I would have attended. I talked to many entrepreneurs I spoke with would have made the drive down to Windsor.
Excellent. And that's where it's tricky, because the conference is a gathering of the ecosystem partners, and then it kind of ripples out to the entrepreneurs that we work with. So when there's about, let's say, 120 spots. So with the ecosystem partners and their program managers, that worked out to about 80 people. So really, we only had about 40 spots for just entrepreneurs to come. But then when only 8 out of the 44 and about...
Say that again.
So 8 organizations show up, that causes an issue with who could have been there. And also, we wanted to make sure that spots were available for local Windsor entrepreneurs. And we're finding out that they didn't really get the information, even though, again, ACBN's been out to Windsor to let the organizations know about what we're doing. Organizations from Windsor were on the steering committee. But I do want to thank them for helping us to put on the conference. So NC, the Nigerian organization out there, and Empowerment Square that created Swobin. Again, thank you for helping us to organize it. But we have to work on what does that local ecosystem engagement look like? Because when people stood up in the conference and asked the question, what is this ecosystem? How is it benefiting me? Where does the money gone? We have to be able to answer that question. And
so a few things. And also have to say good morning to Fiona Goldman, Christine, and Dwayne. Thank you for the great job you did, Fiona. We have to follow up with each other, and you know that's coming. Let me say, Christopher says, no more free events. Do you think it would have been different if we would have charged?
Who buys tickets typically shows up. It's very rare that when we charge for events. So we've done, and I just checked our Eventbrite earlier, we've done over 300 events just on Eventbrite.
Wow.
So when we look at when we've done free events and paid events, but it's tricky because if you do a free event, you'll get 50 signups and 25 people show up. When you do a paid event, 20 people will buy a ticket, but 20 people will show up. So it's like your ego is like, oh, we want 50 registrations, but would you rather engage people in the room? So that's where you want to be able to really identify if it's better to charge. And
I think this is what first of all, there's a huge concern with this ecosystem business, because when only 8 out of how many show up, and family who's listening to this live on replay, especially you live in Canada, those organizations are getting your tax dollars.
And that's why we have to be very respectful of that. Like being able to know that we're stewarding these funds is important.
And even more so, I have a real huge concern about this ecosystem, especially the people that there's an old song by the Steve Miller Band called, "Oh, Take the Money and Run." They've taken, many of them have taken their money and they run, and you don't hear from them again. And then they'll be begging for more money at the end of this ecosystem run. And They don't even show up. They don't show up for a national conference.
And this is where I've been very introspective about my role in the ecosystem. I know we're running ACBN, and that's the Afro-Caribbean Business Network, but we're part of the ecosystem. So we are commissioned to now run the conference. So we take a bit of a leadership role in trying to convene the organizations. And that's where I have to really understand, am I leading that, call it a project of convening the organizations properly? And what better could I do to make sure that everybody that is part of this ecosystem understands there is no ecosystem if we're not collaborating.
There's no ecosystem, you don't even show up.
And that's where there's going to be no future ecosystem, and definitely not a funded one if we're not fully engaged.
Okay, so you know what? A few more people coming in, and we're going to bring Wayne on. I know he's got a conversation to talk about. I know he has some things that he wants to share about this. So Dr. Chachi says, wow, about what's being shared. Ray says, when events are free, the presumption is not of real importance and the value is reduced. People are accustomed to, quote, paying, unquote, for perceived value. And also, good morning to Tim Frey, who I had a chance. I only see Tim Frey at your events. Believe it or not, if I want to see Tim Frey, go to an event.
Been such a staunch supporter of what we do, and the work that he's doing with Support Black Charities is commendable. And I'm just looking forward to seeing that organization grow, because we should get Anik into the ecosystem so that she can support and corral us, because she's definitely an excellent executive director.
Actually, the next time we just have you and I on, we're going to talk about this subject, because I'm really disappointed. And it started right from the beginning. And if people have been around me for a while, I knew that there was trouble in paradise from when many of these ecosystem partners got their money. I reached out to them saying, hey, I host a show. Congratulations getting your money. Would you like to come on the show? None of them responded. So I knew right from the beginning. And even doing research on these organizations, I went, the more I know, the less I understand. So let's finish it off there. Let's bring Wayne up. But one more last comment. Fitness IQ Camp says free events show that folks aren't serious. All right. Hashtag no more free events. And Christopher says, shout out to Tim Frey. All right. So it is the first Friday of the second half of the year, family. The second half of the year.
Yes.
is here. What
would be a word that you would describe the first half of the year, how it's been for you?
Whoo. See, I don't. That's interesting, because I have words of the year. So for me, I'd say a term: increased clarity. I'd say increase. I have more clarity now on what I'm doing. It's increased clarity. There's other words, but we won't get into that, because look, Wayne has to get on here. So what the heck?
Hey, don't worry. That just popped in my head. I was curious.
Yeah, all right, let's bring Wayne Harris up. Sorry, Wayne, we're cutting into your time.
Listen, I'm just listening to you guys. I'm like, I need to pipe in. I want to talk about it.
Good.
Yes.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. Good to see you. How are you?
Outstanding.
Good,
always good in your presence. Good to see you. Before we went live, do share the success of your daughter.
Well, I can tell you June was a monumental month in the Harris family. We have our first summa cum laude biomedical engineering with engineering physics minor graduate from McMaster University, Miss Jenna Harris, threw down over her 5-year co-op and dominated a field of 400 engineers and came out top 20. So I'm very proud of you.
That is excellent. Congrats.
Thank you. So a little bit of girl power, black girl magic, whatever you want to call it, but she held it down for the tribe at McMaster. There's only 6 of the 400 look like us.
Wow.
We were top 20. So that's heavy duty. Trust me, because when they're pronouncing the names coming across the stage, I'll just leave it at that, because this is being recorded.
Yes. You know, it's somewhat similar. I had a nephew many years ago graduate from McMaster. It was at McMaster? No, Waterloo in math. And I feel what you're saying. When I was sitting in the audience, I'm going, and then some of the names, what was that name?
Right.
I think there was one Scott, one John, one Gordon, and the rest of the names I couldn't pronounce.
Right.
Wow.
Yes.
So we'll leave it at that.
So Dr. Tachi is saying here, love the beard, Wayne. And he said that before, and like, yes, it's summer beard. I don't know why a man has a beard when it's like 30 degrees Celsius.
Yeah,
outside,
backwards, right?
Listen, thank you, Dr. Tachi.
Yes.
All right. And she also says, congratulations to you and the family. And then also Ray says, congrats, Wayne, to the future.
Thank you.
Do you want to chime in for a few seconds when we'll be talking about this ecosystem thing? Because I know you had some comments on the back end.
For sure. One other announcement. My son also got into York University to do his master's in economics, and he starts in the fall. So he has an undergraduate in computer science, and he's going to add a master's in economics, and that will bode well both for public policy and economics in the governmental level, but also in the insurance and investment industry, where he can marry business and the computer science algorithms to generate value for companies looking to invest. So big things are going on in the Harris family in 2023.
Talk about generational wealth, not just financially, but knowledge generational wealth that is also going to go through the Harris family. Yes, both his daughter and his son, they're going to benefit from that, but that benefit's going to go through them to many of us.
Agreed. When they were born, everyone was talking about STEM. My daughter was born in Y2K, and my son was born 2 years before Y2K. So everybody was saying, even in the 80s when I went to school, hey, computers are the future, IT is the future, science is the future.
Right.
Now, I want you to understand that the industry that I worked in for 25 years before I pivoted into financial services did not exist when I left university.
Right. Yes.
There was no internet when I was in university, and there was no cybersecurity when I was in university. So the fact that I could do 25 years in an industry that didn't exist bodes well for my kids. Whatever's out there today may have no bearing on what happens for them in industries when they graduate. And that's exciting. So you have to learn not just a specific task, but you need to learn how to think. And that's probably the best thing about going to higher education is you learn how to expand your thinking. So when you meet problems you've never seen before, you have a framework on how to approach it.
There you go. 100%.
Now, thank you. So getting back to what you're talking about, having worked in the Black community and been a beneficiary of many of these services in the 70s when we had Black summer schools. So think about this. We had day camps that were just for Black kids in the 70s in Montreal. And they had school buses that would pick us up in our neighborhood, bring us to a school that they would take over for the summer. All the instructors were Black. All the kids were Black. And they poured into us. We learned about Africa and the West Indies from a Black perspective. Then they had a Black high school. It was called DeCosta. So the elementary school, summer school was called Camp Lumumba, Patrice Lumumba. And we had DeCosta Hall from Matthew Hall and Samuel DeCosta, who guided Samuel Champlain to discover Canada. But they guided him, i.e. they'd been here before and spoke the languages. Or he discovered it. But anyway, I digress. The bottom line, these programs were 40, 50 years ago. Here I am in Toronto in 2023, and Ryan has 8 people show up to an ecosystem party. Here's the deal. Without a standard of professionalism and a standard and rights of admission to these organizations with no accountability in the bylaws, people are going to take the path of least resistance, which is, yes, I'll be there. I don't have to show up and there's no consequences. But imagine if you said to them, come to my event, you have to pay for it. Or I have an account for you, and when you show up, I will compensate you. Or if you pay, you get half the money back when you show up. So it's a $200 fee, but it's really only $100. But if you show up, you get your $100 back. So it really was $100. In the meantime, you have access to their account. Many things to build in accountability, but one of the things about accountability is professionalism. And another thing about these organizations is transparency.
Don't go there. Come on
So
now. You don't want to go.
Yeah, let them talk the things.
Okay, I'm just playing. I'm playing. I know. I'm just playing with. I know. I
I'm
want Wayne to go there. I want Wayne to go there.
I'm all about due diligence. I'm all about showing me the receipts. I want to see the receipts. If I'm going to give you $1, I want to know where the dollar is going. And all I want you to do is keep the standard of the other organizations that are non-black hold when I give them $1. So I donate to a number of things. Mostly heart and stroke. My mother died of a heart attack. I give to prostate cancer. My father died of prostate cancer. And I also had prostate cancer. So I give to those two entities. And when another organization shows up, like the Walnut Foundation, and says they're doing these things for Black men and prostate cancer, I give money to them because I know the principles and there's full transparency. Right. That's all. I just think there needs to be a Black standard of excellence that equates to non-Black standards of excellence and transparency. And if we hold ourselves to the same level of standard, we don't have to worry about Black organizations falling apart or not doing what they're supposed to do, because there's something called checks and balances. And if we put those things in place, we won't have to guess whether they're doing the right thing. We will know quarter in, quarter out, because they're going to have reporting and they're going to have audited financial statements. And I don't have to guess, because I don't want to guess. If I have to guess, I'm not giving you a dime. And I'm not supporting what you're doing.
And that's where, as we this ecosystem was developed. And again, when I say ecosystem, it's not the full breadth of all the organizations that do exist in the Black community, but this was a selected, funded few. So about 44 of them. But when it was created, there weren't those accountability parameters put in for the collective. It might have been put in for the individual organizations because we report to the government and say, okay, this is what we did. But this is where we were trying to bring people together now to be accountable to each other. If it's not designed in, we have to get it in. And those principles, like you're talking about, weren't baked in. So now there really is, exactly like you said, no consequence for not showing up. But there actually is a potential consequence, because now we are putting on this ecosystem conference. The government is in the house, different factions and levels of government. All levels, actually. It was quite impressive to see the different. So now that they're in the room, and that shouldn't have been a surprise to anybody, these are the people that have the pen to reboot or have 2.0 of this entire program. So when they look around and see that they haven't shown up, it leaves a bad taste in their mouth, and that might cost us the next 100 million, 200 million. We don't even know what that next figure is, because we're going to come to the table and be requesting, but we have to show that we've been excellent stewards of this money and being able to amplify the impact. And so, for me, we didn't have a good showing just on that front, but we have to get our act together, and nobody's going to do it for us. We have to come together and put together those principles.
So let me make this statement. Thank you for that. What I'm saying to you and anybody else who wants to do business with people who look like us, there's a little something that I worked in for the last 25 years. It's called GRC, Governance, Risk, and Compliance. What are the governing rules of the ecosystem? And does everyone buy in and sign off? What are the risks to you if you don't comply? And what's the compliance mandate that the government needs to see and that we're going to hold to meet or exceed that standard? Because then you can guarantee money for the rest of your life if you meet the criteria or exceed it. Now, if people say they don't know what it is or don't want to buy in, they should not be receiving the money. The government is looking for a reason to not give you the money. And we're scoring on our own net. It's called our own goal by not being transparent.
Right. Unforced errors.
So all I'm saying to these organizations, and many of them have reached out to me and say, hey, we'd like you to be a director. We'd like to come in and do certain things. And the first thing I say to them is, do you have director's insurance? Now, why would you need director's insurance? You need director's insurance so they don't sue you personally.
And general liability. Right.
And general liability when something goes wrong. And not if something's going to go wrong, it's when something goes wrong. And I'm not about to lose my assets because some knucklehead was dealing with minors and decided to do something, or someone had money and had a fiduciary duty to do something with it and didn't do it, and my name is listed as the directors on their website and in their bylaws. Not going to happen. So they usually don't get past those two gates. One, general liability insurance, most of them will have. They can very, very seldom they operate without that. But directors insurance for the individual directors taking on that risk of governance, 99% of them don't have. And that's why I'm not on many of the boards out there. So if you're on a board today and you're doing good work, ensure that they have director's insurance and have them show you the receipts, because you're personally liable if you don't.
Okay. So what I'm going to do here, there's some comments here, so let's catch up. Trevor says, good morning, Wayne. Major congratulations to the achievements, Wayne. Fitness IQ, congratulations. Opal Inspire, congratulations. Giving the hand claps. Fitness IQ goes beard game. Ray says, very valid points, Wayne, and an approach that is very necessary for growth and that benefits all. Fitness IQ goes, very valid points, Wayne, and it's a great idea, Wayne. That's a great idea. I'd even go to another thing. I would say, I think Louis March always says this is all about the funding Olympics. And I would have said, this is what I would, if I'm a taxpayer paying for these people, I would have said, if you don't show up to this conference, you don't get your money.
Right. But the government doesn't want to do that.
No, they don't.
Right.
Because if they have to mandate governance for us, then we're children in their minds, and they have to manage us. I have a postgraduate degree. I'm not looking to be managed by a civil servant. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. You think Ray McMillan would need anybody to manage him if he was in charge of one of these organizations?
Right,
Nope.
right.
Mortgage brokering is regulated, state and provincial. Finance and investment, regulated, state and provincial. There are bars you have to jump over, and if you don't jump over, you don't keep your license. What is the governance model in the nonprofit community, especially as it relates to people who look like us? There is no bar. There is no jumping.
Yep.
And it's worked like this for many, many years. Some organizations are doing it better than others. I'm not going to condemn all nonprofits. There's some people who've come on this show have condemned a lot of nonprofits about how they do business, but I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to say to you is this. There's one organization or two that are doing it really, really well, and they may not be in the Black community. What we need to do is go to them and say, hi, I noticed your governance, risk, and compliance is outstanding. Could you show me what you did and how you got started? Why are we reinventing the wheel? Listen, you could ask ChatGPT about
very true,
and it will tell you. So why are we reinventing the wheel in 2023, saying we don't know? No. You could Google governance, risk, and compliance, and it will give you all the articles and with ChatGPT, and then you can go down to any organization. I would say you may want to hug the street called Bathurst. If you're in Toronto, you know what I'm talking about. And you go down to Bathurst and Lawrence area around there, you might find some organizations that actually know what they're doing, and they are glad to show you for free what they're doing so you can duplicate what they're getting so you can get their results, and they don't ever suffer for money.
Well, and that's a interesting point, because I know I got a lot of guidance, one from having a strong board, and Ray McMillan is on our board. So having a person like that from the beginning helped to put those guardrails in place to say, like, hey, you have to be upstanding and very because people don't want to risk their own reputation being attached to something, but also being on other boards, like in the Peel Learning Foundation, and I just got onto the SEDNet board. So seeing the governance and seeing how other nonprofits operate and how they're able to maneuver and put, like, how board meetings are run, like, you learn so much by being involved. So that's one thing that I know is always talked about. Like, a lot of people from our community aren't on these boards, and that's something that we should really lean into, because now maybe that's one of the principles before you run and go start a new organization. Be on a board so that you can learn some of the criteria and then you can implement those on the next organization that you're running. And also, before you start an organization, look to see if others are already doing exactly what you want to do, and then join those. So I find that we'd love to start new small nonprofits, and we should probably stop that and start to amalgamate and mergers and acquisitions, actually.
Yeah,
Well,
I think franchises of best practices is probably the best way to go. And you're not saying anything incorrect there, Ryan. I think that people start new organizations because people know that those new organizations come with funding, and they want to be in control of the funding. So if I go join an organization that's been around for 40 years, the people who are getting paid, and I know the governance model is not good, I know I'm not going to get a taste. So I start new organizations so I can get a taste of why they do it. But the reason the guardrails are not in place is because it creates plausible deniability. I didn't know. Oh, I'm supposed to do that? I didn't know.
Right, yes.
Listen, if you join Toastmasters to help you articulate your points. I was a Toastmaster for 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
Our club just celebrated 70 years. Shout out to Toronto #1 Toastmasters.
Whoa, yes.
70 years. First Toastmasters club in Toronto. Why was Toronto #1? We have something called Robert's Rules of Orders, parliamentary procedure. And when you go to any board, you learn how to make a motion, amend a motion, vote on a motion, close debate, open debate, amend the amendment, and work through Robert's Rules of Order. If I go anywhere and they don't have bylaws, I'm out. If I go somewhere and someone could be president for life because there's nothing in the bylaws that say they got to be out in 3, 4, 5 years, I'm not going there. I need governance. And if you understand governance, maybe we need to do a show with those people who understand governance so we can say, these are the things you should know before you volunteer or go to run a nonprofit, especially in the Black community. And then we know what the guide rails are, we know what the rules are, and then we hold it up to that test. And if you can't pass that test, I'm out. You don't get my time or my money. Only 2 things I have to give you.
Well, I'm before one or two last things. Well, at that ecosystem conference, there were a number of people from even government people there. And I didn't know this, but one of my closest friends, he works for the Ontario Economic Development Corporation. He showed up. And I personally introduced him to one member of the ecosystem and the person who I went with. Ryan knows who that is. And I have set up meetings for both of those individuals with that gentleman specifically. So for not showing up, you lose out. And Wayne's done this for years. I've done this for years. Also, Ryan, we're blessed to get into rooms of people who know to do their stuff. So reach out to us, people, because if we don't know how to do something, we have a member of that we know how to do it.
Yes.
Exactly.
So the excuses, there's no, whether it's ChatGPT or human, people are too afraid to ask. I will say this, a lot of nonprofits, they know what to do, but they don't do it for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm not in their shoes, but one of the acid tests for me is if you're a nonprofit organization, if you don't have your charitable status, red flag.
Okay, red.
Or if you're not working on your charitable status, that's a red flag.
And how long have you been working on your charitable status?
Thank you.
Red flag.
And I will say ACBN doesn't have their charity just yet, but we are working towards it. But thank you.
See, here's the thing. Now, I don't know if I can still do it, but many years ago, I was a member of a not-for-profit organization, and I was able to broker them to get someone to get their charitable status done for them for free.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, you know why it didn't happen? Because they didn't have their taxes up to date.
Correct.
Right. So I'm not saying, I'm just saying if melanated nonprofits are not in good shape, okay, I don't know about all you, but there are people on this screen, there are people out there, just ask if you're serious.
Yeah, shout out to one of my former employers, Deloitte & Touche. They had a division called Program Evaluation. Think about that for a second. Program Evaluation. The partner, her name was Paula. I can't remember her last name. But Paula would go out to every ministry in the province of Ontario and evaluate the programs they were running to see if they were running red or if they were running in the black. And if they were running in the black, why were they doing so? If they're running in the red, why were they doing so? Imagine if we had program evaluation for black nonprofits where they had to be held up against the litmus test of standards, and they would get a grade from A+ to F, and they would get remediation based on where they scored.
Yes.
Imagine that. And every year it was a public document where you could go to a website and you would see these are A+ organizations, these are F, these are C's. And we would tell you what they needed to do to get to the next level. Public information.
It's sort of like what the banks go through called the stress test.
Correct.
It's similar to what banks go through stress. I think that's an incredible idea because to me, okay, Wayne, we're gonna do bonus time because you still got to get to what you want to come on with. But we're on. I hope you have some time. Let's get to
41 minutes and 35 seconds with you two. I'm still not on point number 1.
Okay.
I love it.
Let's get fast. So talk the talk and walk the walk. Earl Anderson says. Ray says. Perhaps the ecosystem needs a governing body. Perhaps it does need a governing body, as described by Wayne. Until such time, it will continue to be hodgepodge collection with very little impact on the general populace. Earl says, good morning. Christopher asks, have any of the organizations that were not present sent their regrets for not showing up?
Yes, and one thing I will say quick to that, Air Canada was canceling flights crazy. So a couple organizations that were like from BC and from Alberta couldn't make it. So definitely there were some regrets that were sent. So yes.
Okay. Which leads to another question. Was there a virtual option? But we'll talk about that another time. Ray says, when you need to be guiding counsel to the ecosystem organizations, such an impromptu and candid conversation. Trevor says, greetings, Dr. Vibe. Yes, thanks. Hope all is well. Always great listening to Mr. Harris. Our community needs the financial wisdom he imparts for us. Elemental Notes. Good morning, Melanated King. Thank you for the educational segment today. Wayne, keep dropping those ball references. And Dr. Vibe, where's your silver beard? Hashtag 3 Kings beard gang. So do I have to? No, I don't know. Mr. Roger Dundas of Vibe Blacks. The organization that got $200 million endowment fund that does not have their charitable status. We won't go there, but there is that situation out there. And to the point where when they want to spend any money, they have to go to a non-melanated organization to get the money. Won't go there. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Elemental Notes. You've opened my mind to another aspect of business to educate myself more in. Good. Tim Frey says NFPs can run efficiently without our charity number, but they should have a partnership with a great trustee. Yes. And then Roger says, isn't the ecosystem governing body FedDev? Yes, it is. Isn't it?
No, it isn't.
No.
So the ecosystem is, so ICED is the Innovation and Scientific Education Department. So ICED runs the regional development agencies. So there's multiple across Canada. So FedDev is one of them in Ontario. And then there's others across Canada that are part of the RDAs. So depending on where the organization is, it's a different organization that they would report to. So yes, FedDev is one of them. And I mean, like it's a version of FedDev across Canada, but not just the one governs everything.
Okay, Wayne, you shared something in the private chat. Say it verbally.
Listen, I'm loving what's going on. I don't consider this a hijacking. I consider this a pivoting. And I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at the crowd. Where everyone is getting value from this conversation because it's a big deal. Listen, I'm not going to throw stones if I live in a glass house, but I do know that with one of the organizations I was a part of, founding director was 100 Strong. And 100 Strong for these boys has expanded from Regent Park into Durham region and now into Peel region to give these boys a summer school with black male teachers, with black businesses, taking these boys in buses and cars and Ubers to places where they're going to see black men in positions of power to inspire them to aspire for more. I find it very difficult to see black boys 13, 14 years old with a mindset of someone who's been through Jim Crow or someone who's been through, race discrimination when they have not experienced it themselves. They haven't even gone up for a job, but they're going in with a mindset of lack, and it's bothersome. So 100 Strong helps elevate these boys' minds. 100 Strong is not a charitable organization. We've been doing it since 2013. It's coming up on 10 years.
Right.
But they're not charitable. They use the Toronto Foundation to get access to the charitable money. So we donate to the United Way. We click on 100 Strong. It goes to the Toronto Foundation, and then the money goes to them. So you don't need a charitable number to run. But I wonder, why is it 10 years and we still don't have a charitable number? Why? Because no one is accountable. There's a little something called RACI. It's an acronym. RACI, RACI. Who's responsible? R. Who's accountable? A. Who needs to be consulted? C. And who needs to be informed? I. If I just need to be informed, I'm not responsible. Right? So
Yes,
when
yes.
I look at an organization, I go, who's in charge here? Well,
Right.
well, Ryan's in charge, right? Is Ryan responsible, or is Ryan accountable to someone else who owns the responsibility? Because that's how I know who's really in charge. In any role, in any department, in any entity you run RACI, you will know whom you need to talk to. RACI. Have you heard of it?
I have the first time I've heard of it, but I have a question for you.
I need to implement that.
I have a question to ask, Wayne. Are you available next Friday? Because we're not gonna get to your 10. We can't give your 10 unless you want to go into bonus time. We're not gonna give your 10 things justice today.
I hear you. No, next week I'm actually out of country, but I would definitely love to come back and get to it. But I think I think about the brain power on this Dr. Vibe show. Ryan's doing big things. You're doing big things. Tim Frey, Ray McMillan, Dr. Tachi. We have so many people. You know how many problems we could solve?
Roger Dundas too. Can't forget
Roger Dundas. Listen, people know the answer. Okay? The answer, they know the answer. What's not happening is the answers are not being correlated, consolidated, and codified. They're not. Because if I drive out to Roger's house today and sit down with him with a very, very nice glass of maybe a very aged Jamaican rum, and sit down with him and say, Roger, what do you think? You know what Roger will do? I get my recorder and I'll press record, and Roger will download everything he's seen, the good, bad, and ugly of everything he's seen across Canada and into the United States through his organization, By Blacks. Now I go to Ray. I pull up at Ray's place and say, hey, Ray, tell me about the good, bad, and ugly about finances in the Black community that you've seen in the 30 years you've been doing what you've been doing. And he's going to tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly. I go to Tim Frey and say, Tim, you've been in hospitality and restaurants, and you've seen the franchises, the good, bad, and ugly. What are the best practices? And codify it. It's there, but it's not consolidated. There is no one place. We have the Black Chamber of Commerce. We got the BBPA. We got the JCA. We got ACBN. We got all this stuff going on, and everybody has the answer. All the nuggets are there, but there is no reason to get together to share best practices, because people are afraid that if I give you my 11 herbs and spices, shout out to what kept me alive when I went. I'm not going to say their name, but you know Toonie Tuesdays.
Yes.
Three letters. Yes.
2 piece and fries. They kept me alive. I live right behind one. If I open my kitchen window, all I got was the fumes from it. To this day, it's heaven. But I don't eat it anymore because it will kill you. But all we need to do is if you can tell me your 11 herbs and spices, if you can tell me your secret sauce and your double patty hamburger, if you can tell me the Cadbury secret, then I still have to weaponize it in the positive for my people, because knowing and doing are not the same thing. Not men know, but few men do.
Well, see, it's all, as I say to a lot of the entrepreneurs, it's about making a decision and taking action. making a decision and taking action. Just we're on Instagram for a little bit, so I just want to shout out to some of the people. Tony Benzini, hey, Mindful Parenting Toolkit, yes. Allison Schaefer, parenting expert. I am Shauna Knack, ACB therapist. We are just doing a little conversation on the Morning Vibe this morning. We're supposed to talk about something, but it got railroaded by the ecosystem, so we're just driving in on that. And thanks.
Oh, sorry. If you're finishing.
And if you want to catch the full conversation, catch it on YouTube. We're just doing a little bit here, but thanks for taking the time to drop in. We are going in on it. We're going in on it. We got Wayne Harris, who's supposed to talk about something. He ain't going to get to it. He was supposed to talk about the top 10 financial rules of thumb, what everyone should know to survive in our fiscal reality. So
that's where
we're going to get. Go ahead.
I do want to thank you, Wayne, for leaning into this topic, because it brings me back to priorities. And 100%, we always love hearing what you have to talk about with financial literacy.
Yep.
But I take a lot of pride in being part of this ecosystem. And that's something that when I look at the other organizations, I find they take pride in their specific program, but not in their connectivity to the node of the ecosystem. And I'm hoping that's something that we can shift, because we even have monthly ecosystem partner meetings. And so I'd already seen the writing on the wall with who was engaged, so them all not showing up at the ecosystem conference wasn't a surprise. But you mentioned something where what is there to draw everybody together? And so I feel like naively, I was relying on the pride I feel by being part of the ecosystem would be a draw for everyone, but that's not the case. So to your point, it's like, what would be a good draw, or what have you seen in the past maybe that has drawn us besides Caravana? And like,
hold on a second. Together? That's another thing. Speaking of Caravana, Roger told me this last week. A number, like 2 or 3 of their top people resigned in the last week
from FMC, the Festival Management Committee, which is an organization part of the ecosystem. I'm not sure how many people know that. So just to
I almost feel like getting up and walking away, but that's okay. Let's take a quick break. I just want to catch up on some comments. We can come back. So, but Gavin Dulgas says, "Good morning, Wayne."
And Gavin's the one that taught me about director's insurance. So shout out to Gavin.
Yes.
All right. Okay. I like this by Tim. Wayne is going to crop over in Barbados with his little Speedo outfit, jumping up on the Jolly Roger with his rump.
With a dad bod. Thank you, Tim, with the dad bod. 100%.
Okay. 100%. Also, Dr. Chad says, now I'm hungry with all this secret food talk.
Right.
Ray says Black folk, perhaps globally, are more engaged by personalities and loud voices and competency. Until that changes, the dysfunction will continue. Perfect example. I'm not saying, I'm just saying there's a very big artist, lady Black artist, coming to Toronto this weekend, and people like spending their money hand and foot to go to see this artist. I would love to be with Wayne Harris outside of the place that she's playing, and just ask people randomly, how much did you spend to go to this ticket? And everyone has their priorities. And I'd love Wayne to say, do you have life insurance? I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
You're absolutely right. Listen, Ryan made a great point when he said, I joined for these reasons. I see benefit for these reasons. And there's a little acronym that I learned from Mr. Shark Tank, Mr. Dragons, and Robert Herjavec.
Good man.
He's a good man. And honestly, my son's name should be Jordan, because it was because of him that I can have kids, because he put me in the position to make my first 6 figures.
Right.
Here's the acronym. WIIFM. Do you know what it means? WIIFM.
What is in it for me?
Correct.
Okay.
Everybody who is a part of that ecosystem, you need to know what that is before they step to the table. Because without that, you can't motivate them. I'm not going to guess. I read a book like 20 years ago called "Let's Get Real or Let's Not Play." And one of the concepts the guy said in the book, I can't remember his name. Looking, that's what you saw me looking back. I was looking for the book. It's here somewhere in my office. And the guy says, "No guessing." I go, "What?"
Oh,
goes,
gotcha.
"No guessing." As soon as I heard that, it changed my life. The next 20 years of engagement with people, I had to get specifics from them on why they were going to do something or why they weren't going to do something. Every week I'm out talking to people. I go, "Why do you want life insurance? Why do you want disability insurance?" Well, I drive a truck, and if I broke my hand or my foot, I can't drive. I need to have disability insurance. So I know the why. You need to understand the why. Everyone wants to understand the how. How do you do this, Wayne? How do you do that? No.
Yes.
Why do you want it? Because we have something in our industry called a reason why letter. And a reason why letter says, the reason you, Ryan, are buying this is because you're a father, you have a wife, you have kids, and you want them to live as well as you're living now or better should something happen to you. I look at you and go, "Ryan, is that correct?" And if you say yes, great. There's a book, right? If I say, "Great," so now I come back to you and I say, "Ryan, time to pay the premiums." Yeah, and you home and high. I said, "Brian, are you still married?" "Yeah, I'm still married." "You still have 2 minor children?" "Yeah." You sure you want them to live as well as they're living now or better?" "Yes." "Driver's license, SIN number, and bank information. Because we're doing this for your benefit, not mine. Hey, my side benefit is I'm going to get paid. Yes, I will get paid. I do not work for free. I live in Toronto, the most expensive city in Canada. I will get paid. But your family will be protected. Your wife will have instructions from the ancestors. Will, living will, power of attorney. It'll all be in place.
Right.
So she won't have her most vulnerable state have to make decisions that could have been made by you, the man, when you were alive.
Right.
And I'll say, "Do you want to do this for your wife and your 2 daughters?" And you can tell me yes or no. And if you buy it from somebody else rather than buying it from me, that's up to you. But if you don't buy it, hey, God bless you. I will not give a dime to your GoFundMe, to your family.
Yes.
That's my policy. If you know what I do, and I have talked to you, and something happens to you and your family, people say, "Wayne, you're rough." If something happens to you, and I've explained to you what's in it for you and what's in it for your family, and you agree and you don't move forward, it means you don't care. Not that I don't care. You don't care. And if you don't care, I'm not going to give you a dime for your GoFundMe. Because you wanted your wife to struggle. You want your daughters to struggle. You want them to not have a legacy of wealth. You want them to have a legacy of debt. And if you want them to have that, who am I, as a professional in the industry, to want more for your family than you want for them yourself?
Yes.
No, I agree.
That's how I roll.
100%.
That's more than fair. And for those people, the name of the book I've put in the comments on any platform. So anytime people have recommended book recommendations, I put them up. So that is in the comments. So people say, "What was the name of that book?" Wherever you're watching this live on the replay, I've given you the title. I've given you the author.
Yes, it is a sales book, but it's not. It's a human nature book. All sales books are human nature books.
Yes.
Understand? I need to understand your perspective. Once I understand your perspective, it's great. And then once I have an understanding, I repeat back to you what it is you said you wanted. Then I just provide it to you.
Yeah.
And it's easy. Ray McMillan doesn't go and get mortgages for people who didn't want a mortgage.
Right. Exactly.
That's right.
He's not just picking up randos on the street and saying, "Hey, listen, I'm a mortgage broker. Let me explain to you all the knowledge I have and all the years I've been doing it." And they're not a qualified prospect. But here's what I know. Everybody who lives is going to die.
Yep.
The question is, are you going to leave a legacy of wealth or a legacy of debt? And if you're going to leave a legacy of debt, that's on you. Okay? And it sounds like I'm being judgmental. If if any of you have done the Myers-Briggs, I'm a ENTJ, extroverted, intuitive, thinking.
You're extroverted. You're an extrovert. I didn't know that. Because
Okay, yes.
Little bit. And I've taken this test 3 times in 3 different companies at 3 different ages. Once when I got kicked out of university, once when I was at IBM, and again at Microsoft. And it always came up the same way. It's kind of how I'm wired.
Hardwired.
Right? And there's so much benefit to being the way I am. I'm not looking to make adjustments. I will outsource my weaknesses and focus on my strength. I'm not that detailed guy. I'll get an accountant. I'm not that paper pushing guy. I'll get an administrative assistant. But you don't want anybody else in front, your prospect, kneecap to kneecap, than me, because that's my superpower. That's the art and science of influence, and leadership is influence. Because when you meet a leader who can't influence, you want to follow that person. You're not breaking through a wall for that person. But if you find someone who can inspire you, understands what it is you want, and shows you how to get it, and has done what they're asking you to do, you will follow them. Which is why when I was in the Army, my sergeant said, run. I ran. You know why? Because that mofo ran beside me and didn't even break a sweat. I was like, bro, I got the same 70 pounds on my back as you.
Right.
We're going uphill together. And I look like I'm dying, and you look like you're taking a walk in the park downhill. I'm like, I got to get that fit.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because he was an inspirational leader. He was a do-it-first leader. When you go and look at these organizations, you put them through the litmus test. Are the people who are in charge, have they done what they're asking you to do? And if they haven't, they lose, in my opinion, credibility. And if they lose credibility, you can't lead me.
Interesting. So on Instagram, I am Shauna. Nak says exactly, outsourcing the weaknesses. Another thing, one of the highlights I've had this year, I had a chance to go to a session held by a gentleman who used to be the vice president of operations for Volvo worldwide. 4 hours, and and here's something else for a little tip for people. If you're going to events like that, show up early, because a lot of times the speaker is going to be there by themselves, and you can get one-on-one conversation time with them. But during his presentation, one of the things he said, 2 things I love. First of all, he loves sports. And he said, I'm all about scoring goals and getting wins. Scoring goals and getting wins. And he also said that if you're a leader, especially in a nonprofit, you need a good team. Because if you don't have, when you have a good team, they cover your blind spots.
Correct.
Big team.
Just like,
I love not being the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah, exactly. Right? But it's just crazy.
You know, this guy was a racist and a Nazi, Henry Ford. But Henry Ford had a bunch of engineers that helped him build a Model T. So Ryan, you're head of your organization. You need to know what superpower you have and what superpowers are missing, and you add people in your blind spot. I don't need 2 Ryans who do the same thing as well. It's redundant. But if you look at your organization, you know, it's sales, it's marketing, it's operations, it's finance. If sales is your thing because you had detail and nights and you know how to build relationships, then you shouldn't be the accountant. Go out and build relationships.
Valid. Yes.
Right?
It's true. Yes.
If you're hiring and firing, you're putting in systems, but systems is not your jam. Go find the system person that you need.
Yes.
Because the system person will never buck to be the sales leader. It's not their jam. It's your jam.
So I have an idea, Ryan, and I think if there's budget, I think you need to have Mr. Harris do a presentation at one of your ecosystem meetings. I think if you can get his time, I would suggest you bring Wayne into one of those meetings and have a chat with them. Let's just put it that way.
I have a white beard now. I look very sage. Very sage.
Well, one thing I would, because we started to work on a joint statement that the ecosystem partners could sign that would allude to some of those principles. So that's something maybe I'll send to you to get your feedback on, and then we can have that kind of discussion with the partners around what you've been talking about. I think that'd
sure
be very
you value his time.
useful.
Value his time.
That's cool. That's cool, Ryan. I have no problem with that. What I would want to know is that any statement that the ecosystem puts out, that every member of the ecosystem contributed to it before you send it to me.
There you go.
So if there's 44 members of the ecosystem, I would want
Gotcha.
input from all 44 before I look at the statement.
We might be waiting a while then, because some of their emails bounce back. And I'm just saying, like, it's difficult to get a hold of all 44.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Yeah,
but if it's worth it, then you'll find a way.
yes.
Because there's people in your ecosystem that know some of the members you can get in contact with, and if requested and deputized, they will go get what you need from those people that you don't have any relationship with. Is that fair?
Gavin says, Gavin says Wayne is an inspiring business coach based on his years of experience and in various industries. Facts.
Thank you, G.
Facts.
I appreciate you.
Facts. Big time. Facts.
All I want is, like, I can see the passion in you, Ryan. I know you want to do things, but I want you to think about spaghetti. And it's going to sound weird. Spaghetti.
Back to the food, Dr. Tachi. I hope you're still here.
Spaghetti. All right. When you have a piece of uncooked spaghetti, if you put it on a table, a hard table, and you flick it from one end, will it slide across the table?
Yes.
Right. But if you take that same spaghetti and boil it, and now it's soft, and you flick it, will it move?
Now, just like squiggle.
Right. It'll do this. Right. Are you dealing with cooked or uncooked spaghetti with each one of those members of the ecosystem? And do you know which one's which?
Done.
Right.
Done.
I'm gonna dig into that. I do have my spreadsheet. I do have my spreadsheet that I'm going to reference and start color coding cooked or uncooked.
Yes, because the 8 people who showed up might be your uncooked spaghetti, and that's who you need to work with.
Exactly. Like I have a thought process. I don't want the needy. I want the greedy.
Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna just cut as well. Yeah, I'm gonna cut it on Instagram Live. Hey, thanks. I am Shauna Knack. I think you've been here for most of it. And Mark Lewis, you've jumped in. I still got to send you an invitation to come on the Morning Vibe. But if you're watching an IG, thanks so much. Catch the replay, the complete replay, or catch it live right now on YouTube at the Dr. Vibe Show. Remember to give yourself grace. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith and walk good. Mr. Harris, look at this. Dr. Tachi is loving the food thing. And Christopher Lawrence, hire an experienced chef to cook for you, Wayne.
DJ Safe and Sound, Mark Lewis, shout out.
There you go. And then also Rotted Cup.
Or is that supposed to be ramen?
A ramen cup. I don't know.
Yeah, I think, governance and risk and compliance and just overall leadership in the nonprofit sector is not an easy task because everybody has their own agenda. But it is a simple task if someone can come up collectively with a standard that everyone agrees they need to meet. You have to get buy-in. And buy-in comes from influence. And if you have influence, you will have leadership. So a leader without influence is just taking a walk and hoping somebody in the park follows it. But a leader is walking through the park and people are lined up behind him. When I marched with my sergeant, I didn't ask where we were going because I knew he knew what he was doing. And his job was to keep me safe. So I just followed. Now that's blind followership. I'm not looking for blind followership. but the Army has the most standards of any organization in this country. They have standards at every level. This is the standard of a private. This is the standard of a corporal. This is the standard of a sergeant. And if you hit those standards, you get promoted. If you don't, you don't. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, English, or French. If you hit the standard and did what they asked of you, you got promoted. Are the standards transparent in the ecosystem? Because people will know based on the standard who should win. I shouldn't have to guess who's going to get promoted because I see them hitting the standards. In my business, I have a standard for a junior associate or a senior associate. If you hit those standards, you get the promotion. Male, female, black, white, I don't care what your gender is, you hit the standard. What are the standards in the black community for governance of the businesses and entities that have been created? And now you want to collaborate. Well, if one person's all triangles and one person's all squares and one person's all circles,
against what metric?
You know, we're coming together to be a rectangle. People are going to say, "Listen, that's not relevant to me. I'm a triangle. I'm a square. I'm a circle. What is this? What is this octagon you're talking about? Yes. What is it? They are truly, authentically, transparently. What are they? What's their value to the ecosystem, and how do you measure value? Because that's how you're going to measure whether you're winning or losing. You need a scorecard.
Yep.
And if there is none, you're spending time, not investing time.
It's so timely because one of the final keynotes, Errol Gibbs, that wrote the Black Empowerment Manifesto, said that exact same thing. We don't have a scorecard, so we definitely need one. So, yeah, that's
another thing. That's another thing that the VP from Volvo says. He says, "I don't look at charts if they don't have targets." He said, "I says I don't look at a dashboard unless there's a target on it. Don't look at it. If there's no targets, it's a waste of my time."
Imagine playing basketball. There's no hoop. You're just running back and forth on a court.
Right.
Or imagine there's basketball. There's no clock. There's baskets, but no one's keeping score.
Right.
Are you spending time, Ryan, or investing time? If you're spending time, you're not getting a payback. If you're investing time, you will get return on investment.
Yep.
So you need to understand what that is. And I need to understand what that is. And Dr. Vibe needs to know, and everybody who's listening here, either live or recorded, needs to ask themselves that question about their own lives. Because we only get one. Mortality has, I'm in the mortality business. If you think about it, right? I discuss it every day. Yesterday, I worked with a dear friend of mine. No will, no living will, no power of attorney. We solved it in 90 minutes. Right?
Investment.
90 minutes. Right?
Yes,
why?
Yes.
Because he had a reason why. Because he went from normal to red alert in the last week. Red alert. So now he's on red alert. He calls in the man who can take care of the red alert. And we took care of it.
I like that.
No bucking this time. Because he's on red alert. Here's what true intelligence is. Acting like you're on red alert and solving for it before you're in red alert.
Yes.
People change in crisis. Did you notice that?
Of course.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Right. So
of course.
The art and science of what I do is to show them what that crisis could look like. Tell them stories of other people's crisis and show them how to avoid it for themselves. And if they tell me what it is they want and I can show them how they can get it, we have a deal. If I cannot show them how it impacts them negatively and they do not see it for themselves, they will not buy from me.
Yep.
And that's true for Ray and anybody else in here who's selling anything. They only buy if they see what's in it for them.
For them. Excellent. And that's what I tell when I help people. I said, look, when you want someone to buy something for you, it's not about you. It's about them.
Right.
It's about them. Too many people are doing it for their own. You're missing the point. It's what is it in for them. One of the famous things I like to ask people, what is keeping you up at night?
Yeah, great question.
I like
When I talk with companies, most of the time when I ask that question, they've never been asked that question before. Because you want to be a solution to their problem, not your problem. Their problem.
Sales is hard when you come at it from your perspective. Sales is very easy when you come at it from meeting the needs of the person that's in front of you by asking the right questions to expose those needs. Put them in front of them, lay them out. Here are the 5 things you said that you want to achieve in this thing called life. And they say, yes. I say, is there a 6th? No. Then I've solved for 5 because I know what I'm solving for.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they lied to me, I only have to solve for 5.
Yes.
And if I can get those 5, it's a done deal. I do that every week, and I train my people on how to do that every week. People say, oh, Wayne, you're a salesman. Am I? I'm asking people what they want, and I'm giving it to them. I don't consider that sales. I just consider that doing the right thing for someone because I have the facility to do so.
And one other thing that I do a lot these days, I teach more, sell less. So especially when a Wayne comes on or a Ray McMillan, they're teaching you. They're not out there. They're teaching you. So a lot of the stuff in this conversation is teachable. The 100%. Question is, what are you going to do with that information? They're not pressing you because they're going to go on. Some will, some won't. And really and truly, if you do your things right, you don't need everybody. You just need the right people.
Right. People slow down when they're confused, right?
Yeah.
Slow down or they don't show up when they're confused. What? Because their ego won't allow them to admit that they're ignorant on a certain subject. So they'll just disappear and not show up because they're confused. The reason there's $1.3 trillion earning less than 1% in bank accounts across Canada is because people are afraid of the stock market because they don't understand it. Mm-hmm. They're afraid of the markets and real estate, and they continue to rent because they're afraid of not understanding and losing what they consider to be their nest egg. But when you have expertise like Ray in mortgage and residential commercial finance in 2 countries and the West Indies, and you have people like Tim who understand hospitality and have turned franchises around, you have expertise. If you know how to enlist these experts and they don't make you feel like as they would say back on Flow, idiot. You don't make you feel like
yes.
When you engage them,
yes,
you will level up, and if you level up, you will make better decisions because you widen your perspective. So people don't understand the black art and magic of investing and insurance, so they just avoid it or solve for what they understand is, I have it at work and I'm good. I will get a GIC because I can't lose money. Here's the problem. If a GIC is paying 4%, Ryan, and inflation's at 8%, which it was a couple of months ago, are you winning or losing?
Yeah, going backwards.
You're going backwards. And if you leave it in your mattress, Ryan, if you leave it in your mattress, you put $100 in your mattress today, next year, if inflation's 4%, that means $100 that you put in your mattress this year is worth $96 next year, yes?
True.
Right, so you're winning or you're losing?
Again, losing, going backwards.
But if the market's proven over time to generate between 7 and 11%, and inflation has proven over time to be between 2 and 3%, are you going to win or lose when you're in the market?
Definitely win. If you get that guidance,
So if you're not in the market, you've lost. Now, Ray will say, in a balanced portfolio, it doesn't have to be all market and it doesn't have to be all real estate. Because last I checked, I can get a 12% return without having to go collect rent.
Mm-hmm.
If tenants is your jam and having an outsourced property management is your jam, and you want to do those things, you can make good money. But that has to be your jam. It's not my jam. Because in Ontario, I've had tenants come into my places and not pay rent for 6 months and walk away. And the landlord-tenant tribunal did nothing.
Gotcha. Right.
I did my math on 5% vacancy, 1 month empty, and it was 6 months like it was empty. So the math didn't math, as my daughter would say. Daddy, the math is mathing. Right? So for me, I'd rather do both. So I do both. And the mix is dependent on you. Some people are more real estate heavy. Some people are more investment heavy. Some
Right.
people are 50-50. It depends on what you want for yourself. And 9 out of 10 people have never been asked what they want
Mm.
Yeah, they're told what to do.
because they're employee minded.
Mm.
Exactly. That's exactly.
Another conversation.
Yes. Right.
Well, Wayne,
So true.
we went way into bonus time and we never even talked about what we're supposed to chat about. So let me ask you, when are you available? When are you back from your leaving the country?
Coming back on the 15th. So the week after during the day might work. I don't know what day that is.
Well, we'll talk about that offline because we certainly gotta. We'll talk about it offline. But as always, thank you for another great conversation. Again, it wasn't where you expected to go, but we went there. But
I love it.
It was.
And we appreciate that because
I'm just speaking that Wayne Harris will have an opportunity to share with the ecosystem partners, and I know you're going to ruffle some feathers, and I hope you do.
Yes,
I'm way past the age of not saying what's on my mind.
and with a nice little accentuation now too.
Yes, sage
thank
mode.
you as always,
I love
people. His contact information. The Sage, yeah, man. The Sage tour is on. The Summer Sage tour. His contact
Thank you, gentlemen.
information.
It's been amazing. Have a great weekend.
Yes.
Thank you so much. You have a good trip too. All right.
Thank you.
Safe.
Well, that went a whole different direction this morning.
Yeah, I'm so glad we had that conversation. A lot of takeaways that can be implemented. So that was excellent. I want to thank Wayne for digging in with us.
Well, it's always a pleasure to have him share. And like I said, and thank you to the family. There were a lot of people that came in and out on Instagram, all over the place. So it's always a good time to have Wayne with us. Is there another comment here? Yes, Mark Lewis says, solve their pain. No sale. Very much true. Opal Inspired. Check her new YouTube channel out, saying amazing conversation. Elemental Notes. Awesome show today, gents. Thank you. That is good stuff. All right, let's do some housework before we get out of here. Let's see. Okay. Like the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Please like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook and LinkedIn. Also, whatever platforms Ryan is on, he's very active on LinkedIn. So follow him. As always, join the Morning Vibe Discord group. I would love to have Wayne Harris come in there and just light it up. Him and Ray just light it up. I know that they can. Coming up on this Monday's Morning Vibe, Dr. Tatch will be talking about media, tech, and pop culture. Not to miss, especially if you want to get the download on the new Threads app. Also, if you're a sports fan, in the last week, huge layoffs at ESPN. Lots of big. Yes, people like Max Kellerman, people like Keyshawn Johnson, people like Susie Colbert, like people who have been there forever. Steve Young, Matt Hasselbeck, large. But again, you have to realize ESPN is owned by Disney. Disney is looking at its bottom line. So there's rumors that even more cutbacks are going to be coming. Let's see what we got. If we got any other comments before we get out of here. Okay. Yeah. Yes. And, Mark Lewis said, yep. Jalen Rose too. Yeah. Jalen Rose got let go. A lot of people are saying Jalen Rose got let go. But a lot of people say, why didn't Malika Andrews get let go? That's another conversation. Discord link. Mark, if you email me, we can get you in a Discord room. Also, thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Dr. Vibe and Ryan. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Trevor. Hey, Trevor, why don't you join the Discord room? We'd love to have you in on the Discord conversation. All right. So I think, yes, Jalen Rose did talk about Black empowerment post being let go by ESPN. And even this week, Stephen A. Smith said, hey, I don't know, maybe my job isn't safe. But rumor has it that what ESPN is maybe doing is they may be going after Shannon Sharp.
Okay.
Because Shannon Sharp left the Undisputed with Skip Bayless on Fox Sports.
Right.
And
was it Club Shay Shay on YouTube?
Yeah, which is huge. He's built up. But see, Shannon is sharp. I don't know how much he owns, but I hope he owns a majority interest. He's built a platform of his own. So great education, people. Build your own thing, because he has so much leverage with that Club Shay Shay.
Right.
And could you imagine Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp going at each other on ESPN? Do I say ratings?
Right.
Okay.
That's what
And
they're looking
actually,
for.
Wayne's in the background saying low ratings and podcasts stealing their audience, and also saying Roland Martin set the bar. Roland Martin has set a bar in that he did his own network all on his own. Actually, another thing too, and I've reached out to this gentleman. Do anyone remember the name Tavis Smiley?
Okay, yes.
Okay. Tavis Smiley bought his own talk radio station in LA, and I subscribe to it on YouTube. I've reached out to him saying I'd love to have him on our platform.
Yes.
Because he was one of the main inspirations of me starting what I did back in many years ago. And I had a chance to meet him briefly when he came the last time he came to Toronto. Okay, please share what the Discord is again. Okay, I will put up the Discord banner, Discord information. Let me you can join the Morning Vibe Discord group. Email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. I didn't push it enough during the show, but I'm glad you're hanging around. Would love to have you in and have our conversation. I want to build up the numbers and the engagement where we can have these in between show chats and even get some conversation topics for every show. Ryan, what are you doing this weekend?
This weekend, what's happening? So in partnership with Delta Family Resource Center, we have our youth entrepreneurship program, our second cohort. So shout out to the graduates of cohort 1 who are now, getting their businesses off the ground. We're working with cohort 2. And then I think Sunday is pretty clear. Just maybe we'll go back to the beach. I took my daughter, niece, and my son to the beach yesterday. They love the water. So I think that's going to be a recurring theme this summer.
You have them swimming in Lake Ontario? You're good.
Sometimes
leave it at that.
People.
I leave it at that, man. I leave it at that.
Yes. So if people know good beach spots, I would say within a 2-hour radius of the GTA, definitely send it to us because we're going to go beach hopping and check out different ones. So we found some in Durham, some in Oakville. We're going to venture out. So let us know where to go and check out a good beach.
Oh, Christopher Lawrence said yes. Sandbanks. Yes, Wayne said. Okay. And Christopher Lawrence said, he got up here, Afrofest is happening today till Sunday.
That's right. Yes.
And Wayne also says Tobermory. Absolutely.
Okay.
Places you can check out. And Mark says Jalen will rise again too. Yeah, they will. But a lot of these people need to build their own platforms. Again,
Shannon put it on Indie Soup.
Well, I don't think Indie Soup could afford them, but that's another conversation.
And, they need the platform. Sometimes there's a win-win there.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So we are done. If you want to get a hold of me, there's a contact information, website, email, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. If you want to advertise your business or service on the show, email me at the email address. I'm speaking, at least one of you all will join the Discord group so we can get some stuff going on.
Yes, I need to fix my Discord account.
Yeah, your profile.
Yeah, I need the new one.
Okay, one last comment. We're going to kick it out. One more thing. What's this one more thing? No more free events. Okay, we got that.
Thank you.
We've got that message. No more free events. So live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourself grace. And don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Oh, one other thing too. Wayne was saying we have expertise. There is a lady who comes in once in a while, Lala Key. She's selling real estate investment properties in Portugal.
Okay, wow.
Portugal, nice. Hot. She commutes between the U.S. and Portugal. So if you want to follow her at Realty Goddess, if you want to have a conversation with her, reach out to me. I will make that happen. But Portugal is a hot, not only hot heat spot, but a lot of people are moving to Portugal. Simple life, nice weather, low nonsense. So throughout the people that come on this platform, ask questions. If you want to move forward, ask questions. We'll see you. Have a great weekend. If you're watching this live or on the replay, see you on Monday with Dr. Tachi. Walk good. And that is it. Bye.